Well, hello, hello. Happy New Year, sir. How are you?
I'm very good. Happy New Year to you too.
Well, we missed you. We got to do one episode over the holidays. I invited Jess in. Sorry, we
Yes.
uh we didn't get to have you at our Christmas drinking podcast. It was quite fun. It was quite
Uh,
fun. We should make it a tradition.
it feels like every podcast we record is a Christmas drinking podcast.
That's only on your side. That's only on your side of things. All right, New Year. We have a lot to talk about, both retrospectively and looking forward. And we are privileged today to be joined by Grant Carpenter, Executive Director with Rayburn Group International. So, Grant, thank you for being here. Happy New Year. Hope your holidays were great.
Thank you both. Happy New Year to you too. Pleasure to be here.
Now, your resume is a long one. I did Google you, and I'm not going to go through it all, but do you want to give kind of a broad brush stroke of the clients that you're working with these days?
Happy to. Yeah, if you work in an association management company, it's hard to piece together what a resume actually is.
It
Yeah, my
is.
name is Grant Carpenter. I'm an executive director at Rayburn Group International. Rayburn is a AMC located in Indianapolis. I've been here for 4 years now. I serve a couple different client associations. We work in small staff environments. So I'm an executive director for two professional associations, the Indiana Society of Association Executives and the Association of Societies Alliance. Those are my two where I'm the executive director. And then recently became the director of membership for the Corporate Housing Providers Association. So stepping into the trade association world, which is unique. My
Well, and that's got to
background.
be interesting wearing both hats, where you're an executive director with one group, and then you have
Yeah.
to be a membership director with a number. I don't know if that's humbling. I know don't know if that diversifies your perspective when you're wearing the executive director hat, but that's got to be interesting.
It has been fun to step into it because of the client where I work as a director of membership is a larger staff, five and a half full-time equivalent. So not a huge staff by any means, but different than the one full-time equivalent with some of my other groups. I get to focus on one particular area. I get to focus
Yeah.
on just membership development. I don't have to worry about financials and board packets and sponsorship and all these other things that go into an association. So it has been a fun learning curve.
Well, that's great. Well, and I know you and Andrew have met in person. We had the benefit of getting to meet you, and Andrew got to work with you at the Indiana Society of Association Executives. And you mentioned Indianapolis. You guys are hosting ASAE this year.
We are, and ASAE will be here in August, which we're very excited for. It's going to be great for the city, great for ISAE. Our members are excited, the community is excited, so it should be a good year for us.
Well, good. Well, we are obligated by podcasting Bill of Rights to do a year-end recap and a new year projections, predictions episode. I don't know if you read that in the policy, Andrew, but we're here to check that box today.
Yeah, and I've not heard anybody else's so far this year. So
You know what? I haven't either. Maybe
I think
maybe we're are we groundbreaking here?
I think everyone's just afraid to make predictions.
Hard to know what to predict.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. From one hour to the next, it feels like shifting sands. But yeah, I think we do pretty good. We should have. I should have listened to our 2025 predictions episode
Oh, I'm sure
before
we were
doing
all
this
wrong.
because I'm curious now how wrong we were. I mean, it's obvious we were wrong, but just how wrong were we?
Yeah.
We should do that.
We'll do that. Yeah, let's do that. Um, should we start with 2025 and kind of a recap? I think a lot of what we saw was maybe not shocking, but not groundbreaking either. People have been talking forever about the softening of membership and the decline of membership. I don't think that arrived in 2025. What did you see, Grant, as it relates to membership across your clients?
Yeah, as I was preparing for this, it was hard to tell like where 2025 stopped and 26 began in terms of membership specifically, what we expect our members to expect from us, how we can best serve our members. I think the thing that came to me the most in 25 and continues into 26 is members really trying to figure out, is this benefiting me right now? Is this something that solves a pain point that I have right now? And as associations, particularly in my work with ISAE, figuring out what our members' pain points are. Are we sure that those are the pain points? Are we asking them frequently enough to solve those problems? And if so, great, we've done a good job. We are responding to their needs in real time. But some of our associations aren't always doing that. They're not frequently asking their members, how do I make your job easier? If you needed one thing from me, what would it be? So that's something I'm carrying into 26, but I think was super relevant for me in 2025.
Well, and you're right. When does the membership season start? When does the if delivery of value is 365, 247, when is that membership window and how do you get to focus on it? Andrew, we work with so many groups on leadership development and board work and volunteer development. I don't see a lot of groups that are great at working on membership value and working on volunteer development at the same time.
Yeah, I think volunteer development is something that we didn't see enough of in 2025, and although I do think we've started to see, I think it's an eye opener. I think people are starting to recognise and understand the value of volunteer development. I don't know if that's come about because the particular pain points have been related to volunteers, but certainly I've started to have more conversations with groups who are willing to, in 26, invest in the personal and professional development of their volunteers, be it that they volunteered in to add value to the member proposition, or that they're adding value to the operations of the business. But I am starting to see people sort of wake up to the added value that volunteers really do bring, or should be bringing to the association. But again, I'm not hearing enough about. Oh, I certainly last year I didn't hear enough about the willingness to spend, and I don't just mean spend cash. I mean invest time and resource and energy into volunteers. I think too often there's still that assumption that, well, build it, they will come. If they volunteer, they'll volunteer, and if they do, we'll be so grateful for it. We won't want to rock the boat by threatening to train them.
How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you? So the thing I was most excited about for 2025 to see what happened, and I haven't listened back to our January 2025 episode, but is the COVID hangover officially over?
I think it has to be. I think
It's
we
got
have
to
to.
be. Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, events are back, whether they're stronger, smaller, different, hybrid. I mean, COVID is behind us. It's not an excuse. It's not a barrier. It's a time period we hopefully learned from and adapted during, but it's done. We're behind it, right? Or it's behind us.
Well, it's done, but it's interesting. It's really interesting. Just before Christmas, I had a chat with somebody, and they just said to me, "But we don't ever talk about it. We don't ever talk about the impact it had on us." And I thought, yeah, that's true. Actually, we do. We just kind of we never skipped over it. We all experienced it, and we were all world weary as a result of it. But actually, a few times toward the end of last year, and I don't know if it was again budget conversations that people were having, but yes, events are back, but numbers are not back. Income is not at and people are talking about pre-COVID levels.
Pre-COVID and post-COVID. When you look at your data,
it's become a very definite benchmark, and I think, you're right. If everything's back, but we're not back to where we were in 2019 levels. From what people are saying anecdotally, I think actually there's a disconnect between recognizing that, yes, perhaps event numbers are not where they were 2019, but 2019 levels. But I think we've seen an evolution of how we deliver the value proposition, how we deliver our education, our training. That doesn't account for that loss, or certainly people are not accounting for it. I don't know, Grant, if you're seeing that.
He came into Rayburn. Yeah, he joined Rayburn at the end of COVID. So what did the clients you got thrown into? What were they dealing with, and where are they now on events and training?
So it was interesting when I came to Rayburn from I was at a fraternity's headquarters. So my background was in higher education and worked at a fraternity's headquarters where I did risk management, member development. That could be a whole other podcast. We could spend plenty of time on.
Risk management at fraternities. Yeah, that's a whole other series. Yeah,
I've got a little more gray hair as a result of it. So it was interesting moving from an environment where I was working with college students who were dramatically impacted by shutdown. They were not allowed back on campus. How do you retain member value for groups that are not allowed to meet together in person, that thrive on that? I live in a chapter house together and work together. So that was really impactful. And then moving over to the professional side, where I'm not as worried as much about alcohol abuse, but I am still worried about the fact that our members cannot get together, cannot experience the things that they used to. I think of associations as a great opportunity to bring together community and expertise. That's, I think, where associations have the biggest impact. And COVID, or at least the inability to meet in person, shook that up so much. And groups that have done a good job since then have leaned into their member data, figuring out what their members want from their associations, how often do they want to meet together. Those groups have rebounded well, but there's still some that are hanging on to legacy programs, things that aren't working anymore. They've got sacred cows. They just can't figure out how to sunset these programs. I think those are the groups that they're struggling at the moment and are stuck still talking about pre-COVID.
So are your boards still holding you to, are they still comparing you to 2019 numbers? I mean, are we always going to be chasing 2019 and pre-COVID success and attendance and revenue? Is that what we're held to, or do we have a new baseline?
For my groups in particular, we have moved past it. We have started to hide the 2029 columns in all of our budgets and our forecasts and
Yes.
stuff because it's just not going to be the same. And even 2020, we have to reference it as kind of
Yeah,
the
that
low
falls
point.
off.
But
It
yeah,
falls off the ledger.
but we're not talking about apples to apples anymore. It is a different
No.
world. Our members expect something different, and it's a good reference point at some point, but we cannot use it as a comparison anymore.
And yet, I think some are doing it, and but I think they're doing it deliberately to hide. I think they're doing it to hide their current realities, knowing full well that actually everything you said is absolutely spot on. I mean, that's 8 years ago. I mean, nobody looks at their budgets in 2020 whenever and goes, well, let's do a comparison for 8 years ago, ordinarily. And yet, I think those organizations, and it's really interesting what you said about groups who are struggling to sunset their projects or their activities, their initiatives. Why would they be struggling?
Well, I think there's so many groups that cling to programs that maybe they have a high profile donor's name attached to it, or maybe it's something that's lived around for a long time, or they have a board member who maybe they started the program themselves, and you're not going to be able to kill it in the boardroom because the person that started the program is there. I was at a conference, it may have been ASAE this last year in 25, where somebody was talking about how to sunset those things, and they were talking about as associations, we can honor our history without being defined by it. We can take what we used to do and still give it credit without being defined that we used to be this association who served this specific type of person, and we're just not that anymore. And I think that's really impactful, particularly for legacy associations.
Well, and I love now 2026 that we've turned the corner into the second half of the decade. So I can now focus my clients on where do we want to be in 2030? What can we achieve, whether it's through strategic planning or strategic prioritization or even strategic abandonment? What could we accomplish over the next 4 years that will set us up for that success in the longer term future? Are your groups having those bigger thinking conversations, or do we have boards that are still stuck in the weeds?
Yeah, I've definitely had a great conversation with our ISAE board over the last year. At the end of 2024, we were looking at a budget that was going in the wrong direction. We had some staff turnover and needed to, as you said, strategically abandon some projects. This was great. This project was great. It was of a time. We loved it, and it did serve us. Now it no longer does, and we need to get rid of it. We need to focus our staff time and resources in other areas. Working for an association management company, it's all contract-based work. I track my time to specific clients, and so the amount of time we spend on each project is ultra important. Not that it isn't for every other standalone association, but we can see the time that we're tracking to all of our projects. And if we're going to abandon this events gala because we can focus it on member retention, that's a better use of our time and staff resources.
Yeah. It's so maybe we can set a prediction for 2026 that 2026 is about abandonment, and those 2019 legacies, those pet projects, those sacred cows can finally be put to rest because the budget is now demanding it, or the membership are demanding it. It's always good to have a bad guy separate from the executive director who wants to put one of those projects or programs to bed. But could 26 be the year of lean? We get lean, we get assertive and aggressive with engagement, because volunteerism and awards programs don't matter if you don't have membership.
Agreed. I think groups that are able to simplify, lean into the programs that are working well, figuring out who their core audience is. As associations, it tends to be so easy to be something for everybody. And it's
Yeah.
harder to really lean into who are the members that are showing up the most, who are the ones that are renewing often, that are creating the member value, they're doing the net promoter score, that they're your promoters. Lean heavy into those, simplify your programs, experiment with new things, but cut back on the edges, I think would be really important for 26.
Because I know from my client group, both current and past, that business model pressures are heavy. And whether that be budgets, whether that be partners and sponsors, whether that be staff turnover, like you talked about, we have to take a hard look at things. And budgetarily, it may not have been because membership's down, or maybe it is, and maybe it is because the events are different now. We're not getting as many people, maybe government funding, and the loss of that is affecting membership. But there's a pressure to find new money or to spend less, and that's a hard time. Are you seeing that with your clients, Andrew?
Well, yes, and actually, it's interesting because I'm actually steering some clients away from diversifying their income, because I think too often it's used as an excuse to not focus on the quality of the value proposition. And when you talk about being lean, that really resonates because I think actually I would much prefer my clients to be focusing on the one amazing thing that only they can do and only they
Yeah.
should do. And well, you can just name your price
Yeah.
if you're the only one doing it. But I'm afraid I'm seeing clients who are, yeah, whose instinct is still to chase the money by diversifying into areas where really they shouldn't be exploring. They're neither qualified, experienced, or have the capacity to branch out into those specific areas. And we all of us have seen too often where that type of activity falls flat on its face and publicly so, and can have such significant impacts on the organisation long term. So yeah, I like that. I like what you're saying about 26 being the year about being lean, about it being courageous. I think courage. I think courageous in terms of understanding and talking about understanding your members' pain points and being comfortable, confident, and competent in delivering a response
Whoa,
to
look at
those
you,
pain points.
alliteration.
What can I say?
Whoa.
What can I say? I had
Wow.
2 weeks over Christmas to come up with that. Um, and so I do get a sense that people, because of because perhaps that is the driver, perhaps the financial is the driver. But I am seeing boards and senior execs be willing to be more, well, to be braver, to be more courageous in their decision making, and to be better informed in their decision making, which is pleasing because goodness me, we're now in our this is the start of our 7th season of association transformation, and we have done nothing but bang on about the lack of courage sometimes in boardrooms. So I
Yeah, yeah.
think yeah,
We're going to be positive this year, right? This
yeah,
is our year of optimism, or do we say that every year?
apparently so.
Well, Grant, with all the clients that you get to be involved with, what is your prediction in the general sense for 2026? What's the opportunity? What's going to be the challenge that this sector faces?
I think generally I am optimistic about associations in 2026. I think I kind of have to say that. It's kind of a fake
Right.
it
I
till you
mean,
make it type
as
of thing.
consultants, we have to say that too.
Yeah. But I really do mean that. Now, associations have for too long taken for granted their membership, in my opinion. It was the generations of people that joined associations, they're no longer the members. It was, when I think of my parents' age group, they joined associations because it's what you did. You joined an industry and you then joined that association that's associated with the industry. That's not quite happening anymore. Back to the
No.
conversation around outcomes. Our members are not loyal to organizations, they're loyal to the outcomes they're getting from those organizations. And so if they can get that same value from another group, they're going to do it. If I'm no longer, my
Or
favorite
a
shows are no.
subscription or an app
Yep.
or,
If it's no longer
something
on
else.
Netflix, I'm going to go jump over to the thing that it's on.
Yeah.
I'm not brand loyal. And I think the same thing is happening to associations,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that our membership is not staying engaged just because we will always have those always joiners and we appreciate them. They pay their dues. It's lovely. but for too long, I think associations have taken that for granted. And in 2026, we need to figure out how to bring more people in to show the value of associations.
So is that a change in the, the culture of joining, and or is it about that greater competition? I think 2026 is going to be the year of competition as AI comes in and as more people are able to do that one thing that associations do, whether it's education, networking, training. I think the percolation of competition is going to hit an all-time high,
I agree.
and that affects the value proposition.
I think there's so many for-profit groups that have entered our space that are able to provide
Yeah.
this same type of
Hmm.
education,
Yeah.
and they're doing it cheap because they have VC-backed funding. They have different ways to get funding, and they don't. But it's not a good product. At the end of the day, it's very surface level. People are able to get their CEUs from it, but it isn't going to be the same thing that associations can provide. So
Yeah.
I do think there's an interesting conversation. I attended and spoke at Michigan Society of Association Executives. They had their annual conference in December. I was fortunate to speak, but was sitting in some of the sessions as well. There was this good conversation around features versus benefits of membership. Often we talk about what are our member benefits. It's the exhaustive list of all of the things we do. The speaker was talking about we should frame those as those are our features. The features of the association are all of the things that we do. The benefits are how our members benefit from those
What
things.
I get from it. Yeah.
Exactly. So our job board isn't a member benefit, it's a feature. The member benefit is that I'm going to find my next qualified candidate on that job board. And if we can reframe that and focus it back on the user's end rather than here's all the things, I'll throw it at you like a buffet and you're not going to use all these things,
Yeah.
I don't think that's the best way to describe all of our features. We need to talk about how our members benefit from them.
Yeah.
Which is where that whole piece around impact really comes to the fore, because and I think God, if the number of associations had invested in impact 10 years ago, the data that they would now have that could demonstrate the real, the value and the true impact of being a member would be significant. And I think, yeah, I really like that. Really resonates. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. The whole piece around features and benefits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we should.
And
How
and
is that?
delivering the what's in it for them. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something we've had to do and work on really for all the history of associations, and member value. Go ahead, Andrew. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, so tell me, Elisa, are you going to swear at us now and say two letters about what you think is 2026 is all about?
Yes, because I dropped a little hint and you guys
Oh,
didn't
yeah?
pick up on it.
Yeah.
And I cannot in good conscience have a 2026 predictions episode and not talk about artificial intelligence. I didn't say
It's
generative
it's old
intelligence. I
school.
said art.
It's old school, Lisa. So
It is.
2024. It's so 2024. Come on.
But I'm not talking about it in terms of helping you write newsletters or put emails together more quickly or make your admin staff more efficient. I'm talking about it from the perspective of the members. The members in their professions and their industries, they are being impacted, and they are being impacted in ways that they need to discuss with each other. They need to solve, they need to be trained up for. AI is not just for us. It's something that everyone's being impacted for, and I believe this moment of disruption, even if it's been 2 years in the development and will be going on forever, this is an opportunity for associations to find an area where they can be valuable and important. Every disruption in your members' industry or profession or business or market is a chance to serve them in some way. And I hope people are seeing AI as an opportunity, not just a topic for convention sessions, but really a way to help them identify solutions and means to stay up to date and be successful in the AI context of their own professions. Are you guys having this conversation, Grant? Are your members telling you how AI is impacting their businesses?
I think my perception is a little skewed because of my work with ASA and ISAE. All of those members are also association professionals. So
Yeah.
when we're putting on sessions about how you can use AI within a membership renewal campaign, my members are finding value from that. It's
Yeah.
very different when I'm talking about then the Corporate Housing Providers Association, which is the
Yeah.
trade group I work with. there's a lot of, I think, our associations who are not focused on what you're mentioning there of like, how do we help our members understand how to use this stuff? Not internally as a staff to create renewal campaigns, but how are we helping our members navigate this sort of stuff with listing platforms for corporate housing offering, like all of this stuff that's flooding the
Yeah.
space. It's, yeah, I don't know that many of our groups are doing a good job of helping our members
Well, and you
navigate.
mentioned you were with a couple trade associations, and I work with several as well. Whether it's supply chain, whether it's, proposal and business development, whether it's VC, financing, and they are being affected. Their competition is getting greater and more aggressive. And they feel behind the eight ball. Maybe we all feel behind the eight ball on AI, and maybe that's a good feeling to versus being overly confident about it. I want associations to get out of their own way about AI and put it in the members' context, which we're not always good at, but remembering that there's a discussion to be had from the perspective of the members' industry and business and life, whatever that may be. Andrew, you're not having AI conversations? Come on. I know you're
No.
only human intelligence. You're pro human intelligence.
Am I having AI conversations? Well, certainly not the way you're describing. What you're describing in terms of, I agree with Grant. I don't think I've seen many examples of of any of the groups that I work with or know about putting or presenting the opportunities to members. I don't think
Yeah.
that. I think they're missing a trick there.
They're not ready
Uh,
yet. They're
I don't
not
think
ready
that.
yet.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think AI literacy is. Um, I don't even. I don't even think AI literacy is a thing internally within associations on this side of the pond. Definitely, I think they're still really grappling with it. I don't know. I don't know why they're still grappling with it.
Yeah.
I don't
I mean,
understand why.
I'm hot and bothered by it because I've spent the last week doing focus groups with a couple different clients.
You're
And
always hot and bothered about AI
I
constantly.
know, I know. But the amount of members, again, this is members who are in professional societies, trade associations, who are talking about how it's changing their hiring, how it's leaving their existing workforce unprepared, how it's changing their business model, how it's changing how they seek business. They're asking for help. That's what I heard
Yeah,
clearly.
and I don't disagree with you at all. In fact, I completely agree with you that I think if we're talking about how to associate, and this goes right back to that piece that Grant was talking about, impact and benefit. I mean, if you really want to, get ahead of the curve on it, get ahead of the curve on it in 2026. That just feels for whatever those reasons are, that feels like a step too far. I don't see that. I don't. I think we'll be having the same conversation next January.
Yeah.
I will
Okay.
say, I think there are more folks that are working on the literacy standpoint, Andrew, as you mentioned. I think that that's a way that we can help members. That goes across every industry of how can we help
Yes.
people be better at using these products. And then maybe that's your smart newsletter. Maybe it is generative AI that we're talking about. But yeah, how do you spot hallucinations? What
Yeah.
safeguards for not putting financial information in there? These things that we've been talking about, the good users have been talking about for a while. How do we help bring that out? And I do think there are companies that are entering the space that want to do good work in that. So hopefully we see more of that in 26.
So last call for predictions. We didn't scratch too deep into this, but maybe it's as simple as a Super Bowl prediction. Any Super Bowl predictions? I'm going Seattle.
Seattle would be a good story.
I'm going, NFC, of course. Are you going with the Bears, Andrew? They did not show well this last week, but maybe they're saving up all their energy and talent.
Well, if
Oh
they'd
wow,
have to,
he's really thinking hard about this. You
yeah,
can see.
they'd actually have to beat Seattle to get there.
Oh,
So
what
yeah,
about the
I'm going with the
Patriots?
Bears. I'm going with well, they play the Patriots in the final, so I'm going to say Bears
Okay.
Patriots final. Bears to
Okay.
win,
Okay.
obviously. There you go. You heard it here
Yeah, I'll go
first.
Seattle versus Patriots in the end. Grant, who you got?
I like Andrew's prediction. I grew up in LA at a time where we didn't have football teams, so I never got the football bug. Definitely more Lakers and Dodgers. Now I'm in Indianapolis, and we got to root for the Colts, who just totally fell off a cliff this year. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's go with the Bears and Pats.
Okay. All right. Well, way to follow. Way to
Yeah, not for
Make
any good
Andrew feel
reason
better about
outside of
himself.
buttering up the podcast host. That's that's the main reason.
There you go. Now we know the truth. Well, I think we all learned a great deal from 2025. There's still a lot to learn from 2025 as financials are finalized, as member invoices are sent out, as board minutes are finalized from the Q4 meetings. So, look hard, ask the right questions, and see what 2025 can show you. And go bravely and boldly into 2026. It's a new year, not like any other, and a lot like every other.
Mhm.
We Andrew and I find how frequently we're talking about the same things on this podcast and the recurrence of certain topics. So maybe it's really that chance to focus and get some work done in one area so that you can put it to the side. But
Agreed.
make 2026 your best. Grant, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us. We
you.
wish you the best and your clients. I will see you in Indianapolis in August.
Can't wait.
And until then, put your members and your mission first.